Afro Fashion Association. I have Alina the Jesus. Oh my God! And I
Hello,
practice. She's a former model and an international model, and she's also the founder of Other Couture. We also have Joy Meribe. She is a fashion designer. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me. Diversity, fashion, and the planet. Let's talk about how you started the push to be included in Fashion Week. And I know that fight started very in the 80s and 90s. So, Lena, could you tell us what it was like for you being the quote unquote the only black model then in the 80s and in the 90s?
Well, it's quite difficult because I really didn't realize that was not important. So in those days, fashion was a work for unique people, I mean, and being a black model um, was really unusual feeling because coming from Africa and used to be in a everyone environment, it was not really important clothes what you're wearing, and you would not think that someone would get paid just for wearing you know uh, dresses. We used to, or I used to dress just to cover my body, so I never thought even I have a quality seriously to be a part of that world. I thought beauty was in a style of each one of us. We choose what is beauty is. It was not a typical look that represents a cliche of that kind of business. But was very interesting because I used to have people stopping me and looking at me or staring at me. And there were countries that they were not used to see black people, and they would come to close and said, "Can I touch your hair? Can I touch your skin?" And that would make me really laugh and be like, "Whoa." I comprehend that you don't come so far from Africa. You should traveling people. Well,
So,
was very interesting. I enjoyed much because people they really appreciated it, and that was the time where in Europe there were coming a lot of people from Africa. Even because in the time that I came to Europe, that was after the war in my country because we were in war for a couple of years until um, you know it happens only the peace almost 20 years ago finally.
that's in Mozambique.
That in
Yeah.
Maputo.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then I'll quickly go to Michelle. You also noticed this gap, Michelle. Why did you begin to fight? Why did you think it was important that people of color become even more represented in fashion in Italy?
Um, Thank you for having me, Ogose. Let's say that for the last 6 years, I have been, through my association, supporting and promoting POC talent here in Italy. And it was because I think multiculturalism is not a form of, let's say, performative propaganda crafted for media.
Could you move back a little bit? We can't see your face. Could you move back a little bit so we can see your face? It's just half of your face.
Oh,
Aha.
okay. Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
No, it's gone again. Aha. Okay, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, like I was
Spark.
saying, multiculturalism is not just a form of performative propaganda crafted for media consumption. I think multiculturalism should be the true reflection of the rapidly changing of the society. I was living here in Italy, I grew here in Italy, and I didn't see POC present and in the fashion system. Let's say POC creative like fashion designers inside the fashion system. For example, we just have here in Italy one member in the Camera della Moda, which is Stella Jean. And we decided in September to raise the question, do Black Lives Matter in Italian fashion? Because, yeah, the reality was that we weren't seeing fashion designer there. And the Afro fashion designer present in Italy were just showcasing through the Afro Fashion Week Milan. That's why we were asking ourselves, they're talented, they also need to be present in the calendar. So why not open the door to them too? Because they are doing, let's say, made in Italy. Because people tend to think that made in Italy is just a question of color. It's not like that anymore. The society is changing. The multiculturalism is present, and in the fashion industry, people are always talking about diversity and inclusion, but inside you don't see that diversity and that inclusion. We thought that the moment was right and the time was ready for those designers to be present there. Let's say that they are not present just because they are Black. They're present because they are talented.
Because they're talented. Okay, so part of your fights brought us Joy Meribi and the other fight for who became, the face of the movement. Joy, I would ask you, how did it feel when you got that announcement that you would be opening, the Fashion Week in Milan? How did you feel about that news?
Well, it was surreal and it was like a dream. And I earnestly hoped for it. And I didn't know how I felt because I didn't even allow myself to really, really live in the moment because it was something I have never seen living in Italy. So I really loved it. I enjoyed it. Excuse me, I can't see myself. Okay.
Yeah, we can see you now.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I am grateful. People all over the world, friends calling me, sending me links of articles about me, my pictures, videos. So it was really something really wonderful.
Yeah, but it took a lot of hard work. You said something. You said that as a woman and an immigrant in Italy, I had to work twice as hard to prove that I have the same skills as others. Tell us about that
Yes.
experience.
Yes, you know one thing, people see you and the image they have about Black people or Africans is usually the image they see on TV of children starving and people dying of hunger. And initially, it was like subtle. You would switch on a computer in an office, somebody would say, "Wow, you could do that!" Right? And
Really?
yes. And initially, it was like a compliment. And much later, it started becoming very annoying because I only switched on a computer. And for me, I remember when I was working in the job center, I asked my boss, I did jobs that were outside my job specification because I wanted to prove to her that I could do it, especially technical jobs, things I wasn't trained for. And I thank God she allowed me to. And some people would even come into the office and they wouldn't want to be interviewed by me. And some would grumble. Their children are looking for jobs. And this one is here with her broken Italian. And what is she doing here? And actually, the job I was doing was I was working as a cultural and linguistic mediator. And I was the only one who could do it because I spoke English, Italian, a little bit of French, Igbo. So so anyway, that apart, I've always wanted to prove myself. You understand? And people don't expect you as a Black woman to have such high ambitions. And I've had someone ask me, "Did you really have to go study for a master's degree? You could you could have looked for something easier, right?" And I asked her, "Easier, like what?" And she kept quiet because she knew what I was driving at. And so I really, really, I remember an export manager where I was working sometime. He told me he used the word that would mean I was pompous because I dared to dream. I dared to go and study for a master's degree in Italy, being an immigrant. And he wasn't used to that. Okay. So even in the office, then I had to give extra. I had to be there every time working, even when other people would want to take time out to go smoke, to go drink coffee. I had to do double just to prove myself.
I'd also ask that to Elena. Did you also have to work twice as hard in the 80s and the 90s? Did you work twice as hard to be seen?
As I was saying, what's weird in that point of view, it's quite difficult to you know, to was more over 30 years ago. I mean, to be a Black person in Europe was very hard. I mean, you would pass in anywhere and everyone would be staring at you, of course. I mean, even today, you know, they immerse you. But on the way back was more harder because you have to improve. I mean, that you're intelligent, you have education, you have a culture, you comprehend their own society, you can link in the way of style of life, whatever. You have to really push a lot, and you do, because you know the values. I mean, you came from Africa, born in Africa, raised in Africa, so it's you have a power, and you don't give up with your own smile. You know that tomorrow gonna be a better day, and looking for the ones that you left behind. You feel even more stronger that you can improve, because you have a possibility. If you get a chance, you can improve, and you have your back journey.
That's
Your
powerful
career.
to hear from you. You know, that's her. That's a beautiful picture. Can you see her essence? The cover of Essence. That's her over there. The cover of Ebony. This is just really beautiful to see. And on the cover,
I mean, when I said to my mom, actually it was in 1988, and they called me for a cover of Vogue, and that was very exciting. And when I said to my mom she should just walk by in the store to buy a magazine, she got upset with me, because she was not expecting that, you know, a sort of job and as a modeling was a career. She didn't like it at all, and she even refused to talk to me after for a couple of days.
really?
But that was, you know, her point of view. I couldn't blind her. I mean, you know, she was very strong woman, you know, African woman. You guys know what I'm talking about. There's no game. But it took more of the 20 years to make her comprehend, because people that were starting to talk and say, "Hey, I saw you, you know, I saw your daughter." And one day she walked in a store that was Benetton store, and that was my picture huge on the wall. And probably because she mentioned that was my daughter, and everyone was like, "Oh, are you really?" And they didn't really believe, because she's so different from me. And yeah, she mentions, and that when she's starting to change her opinion. But working in America, it's very different to work in Europe. I mean, you have more possibility in America, because it has a lot of work, you know, for a Black collar community. I have to say, more than Europe.
Yeah, but they're also
More than Europe.
complaining in the US. I mean, that's where the Black Lives Matter movement started. So, I mean, probably not all that rosy, but as you said, it's easier for people of color in the US compared to Europe, you know. But Michelle,
Yeah.
Michelle, you saw this difficulty. Was it also difficult for you to achieve this, what you achieved?
It was more than difficult, and thanks to God, I met beautiful people along the way. Let's say that when I started in 2014, I was practically the only platform here in Italy to support these talented creative here, and for me, that was the let's say the shoulder of this project. It was way too difficult because I was invited to talk about this project. I was invited to talk about diversity and let's say inclusion. But once I was in during the meeting or during the conference, they would ask me to talk about my story, like, "Oh, how did you come here in Italy? What are your parents doing?" I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you think that I'm here to talk about my story like an animal in the zoo? You asked me to come here as a professional to talk about a topic, and what you are interested about is my story. So no, I'm not doing this." And I started to refuse all the interview because I think if I need to see some change in the society, I need to start that change. So since 2015, I stopped doing interview because I was like to the journalist, I was saying, if you don't want to tell my story or to tell my project in my vision, then bye. I don't need you, because I think the media has a great responsibility about this topic, that is diversity and inclusion, because it is a really sensitive topic. You can't just talk about diversity and inclusion for joke or just to tell something to sell to the people, and you can't just represent Black people just like you know, people without value in the society, people which is, if you are a Black woman, you're a prostitute for sure, or if you're a Black man, you are selling drugs or you are dealing. This is not fair. I think I went to school, I have too many degrees. And when I was invited, like I said, with other professional at the university and always also in TV, they will ask me, "Oh, thank you, Michelle, for coming." I was like, "Okay, thank you for having me. Yeah, let's talk about your story." No, talk about your story. I'm interested about it. Like, no, thank you. So they tend to undervalue you a lot,
Yeah.
basing their judgment on your skin color. And let's say that you are living in a patriarchal society. So if you are a woman and you are a Black woman, things are 5 times difficult for you. Yeah, absolutely.
5 times difficult. That's
Yeah.
really
Sure.
that's really it
Yeah.
must be difficult. You want to say something, Elena?
Well, it's true because I mean, you're a mother, you're a wife, you're a daughter, and it's quite very difficult if you're clever as well, because I mean, they don't expect most of the. If you're beautiful, you have to be a prostitute. It's true, as Michelle she said it, or you just have someone came to Africa and find you on the beach and invite you to come to Europe and blah blah blah. It's very sad because I mean, uh, world should know about our culture. We have a continent of Africa, which means a lot of a culture, a lot of traditionals, a lot of language, a lot of a diversity that it creates a beautiful nation, each one of us. And I believe that it's a pity. They should really be more interesting, not to say our skin color, but our brain and our heart.
And Joy, for you,
Yeah.
I mean, you're now an inspiration to
And they
many
should
others.
come more with a direct.
I think we have a bit of network problem with her.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
having some
Yeah.
issue with
But for
her
you, Joy, I know a lot of young people are now looking up to you because and the others. And then Giselle, yes, Giselle,
Pardon me?
her designs are made from what is it called?
from
Hemp.
Hemp.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I wish you could speak
Giselle,
English.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
she's
The
speaking only
material
French.
that Giselle she used is the material that Giselle she used. It's beautiful, but not only. I think that if we increase our, there are a lot of products in Africa to provide the designers, no, like the African material. That is the issue. For example, in Mozambique, we call capulana.
Mm.
the one that you tied in your hips. How you call in Nigeria?
Mm.
How you
Is it
Kwakwa.
the
call?
wax fabric? There are different types of
Yeah,
fabrics in Nigeria. There is
African one.
akwete. There is
Akwete.
yes. There is ashoke.
Okay.
There is what else
No, but
again?
There are
Batik,
lots of
the
the
adire.
ones, the teeth
classic,
ones, the gala
classic
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
the classic ones that any woman, any black woman has. I mean, I would say it's our second skin
Yeah.
because since when we born, we're wearing it. We're growing up covering our body. We want to sleep, we covered because it's cold. You want to traveling, you don't have a luggage, you put your clothes, your stuff, your tight, you put in your head, go. You want to carry your baby, you put in your back, you tight. You can make a curtain, you can make a blouse, you can make a skirt, you can make
Yeah.
everything. It's a pure cotton. In
Yeah.
Mozambique, we call capulana. As a second skin of a black woman, I'm wondering, black woman, African, I'm wondering why those materials, they are produced outside of
Outside.
Africa.
Absolutely.
So this is serious because we should provide our culture. We
We
should
can see
look
half of your
after what
face.
belongs to us. Why should be produced by Europeans? I don't comprehend. We come to Europe to learn. We come to Europe to share. We come to Europe, each one of us, we have our motivation, but we bring our culture with us because we it's contagious, and then we link in a society. But on the same time, if we have to buy a piece of material, capulana, we have to go to the market here or order in the internet.
From
In
Holland.
Africa, there are a lot of fabrics. They're closing down, or they are countries. They don't produce no longer. Why? We should go
This
back
is a
to
topic
our
that I
natural
would
fabric.
really like to discuss about, and also to discuss about it and the sustainability of that materials, and also the planet. But unfortunately, guys, I really had to leave. I hope that Oguchi will invite me another day just to talk about the textile and the planet. I would really love to
No,
talk
no,
about
but
it.
quickly, en français, parle avec moi.
D'accord.
Sustainability, le
Je peux
terre, le
parler
blue, you know,
Alors,
parle avec.
je suis très en retard parce que j'avais une réunion à 20h30 et il est 20h51. Donc, je t'en supplie, pardon, excuse-moi. Ce sera pour une prochaine fois, d'accord? Je suis complètement disponible.
Non, pas d'accord.
I will translate that for you if you want.
Pas d'accord.
Like, I'm really sorry. I'm really
Restez
sorry.
à la internet avec us. Okay,
I'm
okay.
seeing some progress. Okay. Let's hope that for the next maybe the next time we will chat together, we will speak all in French.
In
Let's
different
hope that.
languages, in French, Italian, German.
Okay, I'm up to that.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you
Okay,
guys. Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Michelle.
So now let's talk
Oh,
about
wow.
fast fashion, Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before
I'm
we went
sorry
live,
that
I was asking you about fast fashion and
Yeah.
how we can be more sustainable. You
Yeah.
have you thought about that in your designs? How do you reduce the amount of waste you generate? Because that's what this is all about.
Yeah. The idea of my designs, if you look at what I produce, I don't tend towards fast fashion. I produce occasional wears. Those are not things you just buy and discard the next minute. These are things you can wear and still hand down to other people. And
Very tailor made.
yes, yes. One thing about fast fashion, I just realized as as an independent designer, I couldn't compete with those producing fast fashion because those are things you buy them, they are cheaper, but the next minute you're discarding them, you're buying another one because the fabrics are worn out. And by doing that, there is a lot of wastage, a lot of consumption of energy, of water, of everything, you know. And just as we were saying before, these are things we were already doing in Africa, buying secondhand clothes, right? Handing down to the younger people. I remember my mom would tell me to treat my clothes very well because I would hand them down. Even now, I'm telling my children to treat their clothes very well because they would hand them down. And there's no shame in that. We grew up sharing clothes with
They
cousins, with
call it
sisters.
okrika.
Yes, yes, we went to, that is why I don't know if I can say that as a fashion designer. I went for sales because
Of course.
because do you know what? I grew up in Aba. And if you know Aba, Aba is known for
I hear horror.
Okrika, the
I
second
have a
hand bend down boutique. You have to bend down and struggle, and you leave this one up, you look at it, you want to know if you can wear it, you put it aside, and you take another one. And those were second hand clothes. And even while I was growing up, I have never had any shame. I didn't know I was even practicing sustainability, saving the planet by doing that. But I was never ashamed of buying my what is it my secondhand clothes. And one other thing is this, that in especially, let me not talk about the whole of Africa, let me talk about Nigeria. We mostly made custom made clothes. You made them when you needed them, especially for occasions. And this kind of produced jobs for a lot of people. There were so many seamstresses, tailors who had jobs making clothes for you instead of importing
Yeah.
the ones that were made wherever. So we're already practicing sustainability in fashion far, far back before we even knew the name of what we were doing.
Yeah. But sadly, I don't know. We still buy okrika, Ahiohoro is still thriving.
Yes,
Even on
yes,
even on social media now, we have people who sell secondhand.
yes, yeah,
On Instagram, you find okrika, you find different
yes,
accounts, who are selling
yeah,
this. But also,
yeah.
we know that people are buying more and more. There are also people buying more and more. Elena, let's talk about your experience with fast fashion. You were there when it was all tailor made. You didn't have to just go quickly online and purchase something. It was tailor made just for you. Tell us, how does it feel for you to see these days people buying and discarding? How does it make you feel? Did you hear me?
You made a question.
Yeah, I said in the 80s and in the 90s, it was usually tailor-made outfits, and then we started seeing quick fashion, fast fashion. People could quickly order, and then they discard and buy new ones. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, because I mean, it came the quantity, and when it comes to quantity, quality goes less. You know what happened is that a lot of was a boom of fashion. I mean, was a dress for any age. On the 80s, fashion was just three type of collection. Was a sport, high fashion, and
I wish you can have her back.
There's a
Interesting
network
conversation.
issue.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. We need to hear what she's saying.
yeah,
Okay,
the
you're back now.
network
Go
is
ahead.
not going right. Sorry about that. Network is not going right.
Yep, you can
So,
go ahead. We can hear you now.
so I was, as I said, on the 80s, fashion was just three lines, and most of designers, there were just few. I mean, Italy, there were like 10, for example. Portugal, they were like 4. France, there were like 7. Was way, way, way different from today. Today, there are a lot of academy of fashion designers, and in 3 years you become a designer. Quality came a lot of long, in a different countries. So it's even good new generation they pumping up. it's about time to see a new style. Supposedly, a lot of African designers, they proposing with the Afro Fashion Week we've seen lately. So thanks God, something good is appearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also have your own line. It's called Other Couture. How do you
Well,
how do you include sustainability? How are you trying to make it
couture.
more green and less, waste?
No. Actually, let me explain to you. Haute couture means altra moda, l'autre mode. It's a way to project ideas of way art, dress, fashion, in a way to introduce artists, paintings, sculptures, to support the two areas of a culture with the fashion, art with the fashion. This is an idea because I had few friends of mine. One is Angelo Sevarese. He creates a statue uh, in bronze for 1 meter and 80, beautiful, dedicating in a project of couture. Haute couture is a project to bring schools of Academy of Africa in Mozambique. That was my goal. That's my dream. And I've been working in this project the last 2 years. And I really have to thank Michelle that she gave me opportunity, the platform of Afro Fashion Week, to present the project. And the project was presented last year in September. And was very good response. So far, so good. Probably I will manage really to do the first school in this project in Mozambique. Cross my fingers.
Yeah.
Be able
With the best. Oh, sorry.
to embrace most of the countries. I mean, this is an idea because I believe really that art, dress, fashion in this point, it comes from the art, fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Creativity expires from art. And this project, it's I wish you could see the video that I present in Afro Fashion Week. Was in September last year. Please check it out.
I'll check that out.
Yes, because I mean, he embraced the art to create a school. He embraced the artist of culture to promote the studies of art sculptures. And the project was inspired by Bertina Lopes. Who's Bertina Lopes? She's considering the Picasso of Mozambique. She's an artist, very popular. Bertina Lopes, we call her Mama B. She lived in Italy for more than 40 years. She died 5 years ago. As she was one of the most knowing from the institution of a Mozambique government, because she really had support. Mozambique create the peace. The end of the war was made in Rome, and they organized this meeting. And Bertina, she was a speech of a peace from Mozambique, and she made it. Well, since she's been living in Italy for long, new generation from my country, they don't know her. And I believe that the best way is to create the surround Capulana from the painting of Bertina Lopes. I select 12 paintings that she painted in the decade of her story. And I produce in a material that brings the surround, the Capulana. And that's from that Capulana, I create the turbans. And that's why it calls I turbante dell'arte.
Sounds very interesting and very creative and artistic.
Yes, because I mean, it gives a lot of a message, you know. I mean, the turban, and this is one of pictures that I reproduce in material. It's not a picture, sorry, it's a painting from Mama B. And
Wow.
they dedicated
Wow.
panel,
Wow.
It's
and
beautiful.
was made in 1988.
Ooh.
So I really believe that bringing the Saron, bringing a Capulana of Mama B, anyone from Africa can buy. You can afford, instead to buy the painting that it's unique, and of course it makes a part of a collection, exclusive collection of Mama
That's an
B.
interesting one. That's an
Yeah, so
interesting one.
thank you. So I'm not really a designer,
Aha.
but I would like to embrace the design. I create the ideas, and I embrace the ideas together and create an exposition of art, and then present the fashion show with the designers that they want to be a part of it.
Oh, okay. It's really great to know, and that's really very unique. It's beautiful as well. Now, both of you are mothers. You had to work twice as hard as Black women, and you had to
Yeah,
work twice as hard as mothers. Joy, how
yeah.
did you do it from from foreign languages and literature to business, international business, and then now to fashion? How?
Yeah.
And it's Mother's Day.
And
It was not yesterday.
sometimes when people ask me how I went into fashion, I would say fashion chose me. I've always loved fashion, but growing up in Nigeria, you're a Nigerian, and Nigerian parents, um, if you don't go to the university, that's another. Even if they are starving, they are willing to make all the sacrifices in the world to make you study. And given that my family, um, my parents, even extended family, were really very particular about education, formal education. I loved fashion. I was drawing clothes all over the place, but I didn't have the courage to even tell my parents that was what I wanted to do as a profession, right? Because I didn't have good examples of successful fashion designers while I was growing up who were Nigerians. I grew up in Aba. The ones I saw in Aba, they were barely scraping by, So I went to the university as they wanted, and right after the university, my final year, I got married, joined my husband in 2003 here in Italy. But when I came to Italy, even when I met my husband, I told him I was still going to study. That I wasn't going to stop in my first degree. And when I came here, I knew I had to learn the language. I had never dreamt of coming to Italy, but I met a man who was already living in Italy, and love brought me to Italy. And I started learning the language. Actually, I started learning on my own. It's really a long story. The kids came. Sometime I had to take a break for like 1 or 2 years to really take care of the family. But while I was taking care of the family, I was kind of intentional the way I raised my children. I was studying on my own too. So even the years I was not working, I was studying because I knew these children would grow up. And when I was doing my master's, that was also part of my strategy to use this moment to study so that when the kids will be older, I would now dedicate entirely, not really entirely, you can never, as a mother, as a wife, you can never dedicate yourself entirely to your career. And just like Michelle Obama said, we can be everything we want to, but not at the same time. You can achieve whatever you want to, but not all at the same time. So sometimes you had to make sacrifice. And I, as a woman, and as an independent minded woman, stepping back, it really hurts my career. And but I had to make a choice, and I chose my family, I chose my children. But in the meantime, I was also studying, I was strategic, I was intentional. It was tough. Just like I told you privately, Ugochi, I don't know where I got all the energy. I was just pushing through. I didn't have any time to wait, to stop and think about the stress, the everything. I was just, sometimes I look at myself now, and
Yeah, you
I
seem
also
like a
ask
very
myself, how
powerful
did you
woman.
do it?
Absolutely. How did you do it?
I
I mean,
ask myself the same question. How did I do it? I was just moving like a train. I didn't have time to stop and evaluate and think about all the stress and everything. I remember when I was doing my masters, I lost 14 kg. People were like, "Oh my God, you lost so much weight. You have turned like you were before." For where? I wasn't dieting, nothing. It was all the stress. There were times, and I studied in Italian. There were times I went to bed studying until 3 a.m. in the morning, and I would go to bed, sleep for 2 hours. I'll wake up in the morning at 5 to prepare my children, prepare myself, send them off to school, rush to. I was doing 120 kilometers every day for 13 months to do my
Wow.
master's, and I just don't know. I had to
You
take
had to
those
fight.
steps. Yes, I had to fight through it. If you ask me exactly what was my strategy, I know I was strategic, but exactly what was my strategy, the truth is that I don't know. And one other thing is that I have a supportive husband who, when he is around, he takes away the stress out of me. Even now that the kids are older and I am dedicating a lot of time, because being an independent designer, it is not easy. And especially when financially you are not there yet, and a lot of things you have to do by yourself, it takes up a whole lot of my time. The time I could spend with my children, the time I could spend with my husband. But we kind of grew up, me and the kids, because we all grew up together. I was raising them, I was raising myself and my husband. So I have kind of a family that is cooperative, that we do things together. Everybody in this house cooks. Everybody in this house does everything, and I am telling you, I am being exempted from a lot of things at home right now. Even though I am the mother, they're the ones taking care of me right now, because they know I am just pushing for my career to be stable.
Mhm.
So I would say my family helps a lot. My husband, the children grew up seeing him doing a lot of things in the house, and we just have a way that we do not raise our children like this is a boy, this is a girl. Everybody does everything. We
Yeah.
don't have gender roles in my home. And of course, my son grew up seeing his father cooking, washing, doing a lot of things that
Nice.
every human being should do. So he doesn't even
Life
see
skills,
himself as.
just life skills.
Yes, yes, those are life skills that everybody, male or female, should do. So, and I thank God everyone here is almost an adult. My son
Yeah.
is 13 and a half, but that one is he cooks, he enjoys cooking. I thank God I didn't have to push him. He just enjoys doing it, and everybody helps to clean the house or however they do it. Look, this is
Yeah.
my moment to pursue my career. So
Absolutely.
I have also learned to not bother so much about dust here, dust there. Everything will come together, because I can't
Relax,
do all these
girl. Yeah.
things. Exactly. I can't do it all at the same time. Right now, I'm focusing on this, my fashion design career, and every other thing rotates around it. And my family understands and they help out.
I'll ask the same question to Elena. You've been married 32 years.
I have two
32 is long.
boys. Yeah.
Wow, and you were married even as a model.
No, no, no. No. I got married. I was almost 28. I became a mother very late.
Yeah, but that's not
Yeah.
late.
He's 20. The first one, he's 26, and the second one, he's 23.
Yeah, I mean, in the 80s, probably it was late, or in the 90s, it was late. But
Yeah,
now, people get married at 31, 32, and 28.
35.
Yes, but
Manage your
until
career and raising kids.
I it's weird because I grow up with my nephews. I mean, in my country, if you have two older sisters, whatever they decide, I mean, you can't even complain. You just have to do it. And I was used to it, to taking care of kids. I was used to it, to work home. I was used to it, to do what belongs to work of home. Um, Carrying on both sides, for me was normal. My mom, she has four daughters, and she was alone, and she was working, and she has to raise all of us. So I got a good example. Was tough, but it makes me growing as well. You learn in a tough time. I mean, that was when you know how hard it is life, and if you have children, it's no way. You have to guide them, and you have a bigger responsibility because I was alone. I don't have my family in Europe. I just my husband and my kids. So was no time for babysitting or whatever. So I have to do a wife wise, and I take care and I raise my kids until they went to college. The moment
Yeah.
that they went to college, I feel that I had more time to dedicating my project. And that's why I came back in the fashion business.
Mm.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
must have been a very
I will
long.
tell you one other thing, Ugochi. I remember when my daughter was younger, she was 3 months old. I was taking her to school, my own school. I was studying as a cultural and linguistic mediator. I would wake her up. I would already dress her in the night.
Hmm.
Then
Really?
when I woke up in the yes, when I woke up in the morning, I would just put her into her jacket, and there was no lift to go down the stairs. I will put my daughter in her push chair. I will carry the push chair and the bag and run down the stairs, rush to the bus stop while she was still sleeping because I took her straight from the bed
Wow.
into her push crib, and I would
Compared
breastfeed
to
her in the
school,
bus. Yes, I would breastfeed her. Her breakfast was in the bus. I did not care. I would just breastfeed my daughter in the bus, pack her hair,
so
her afro hair. She had a lot of hair. I would use elastics. That was where I would clean her face. I would do everything and prepare her because the moment I took the bus got to the bus stop, I still had to walk for 15 minutes. So in the bus, I had to get her ready for the walk to school. Her breakfast, everything was done in the bus. And I went every day to school because when I was going to school, I told them, would you allow me come with my daughter? They said, if it's not a problem for me, it wasn't going to be a problem for them. And then the class, when she was hungry, she cried only when she was hungry. I would turn my back, listen to the lectures, and breastfeed my baby.
Ah,
wow.
wow. I mean, of course we see some of this in Africa as well. We know
Yes.
we see it. We know
Yeah.
students in lecture halls with their
Anyway,
babies.
Yes. Yes. And that was a motivation because I remember sometime in the uni, there was this lady I saw, she was living off camp. She came that night to study. It was during exams period. She was pregnant the night when I saw her. The following day, she came to write her exams without her belly. I asked her
hmm,
what happened. She said she gave birth. She gave birth in the night, and she was there in school early in the morning to write her exams. So I
Wow.
was like, so seeing these things, I had all these examples and inspirations. And it's one thing about seeing strong women pushing it against all odds, they inspire you to know that I can do it. And
Hmm.
then when you find yourself in the same situation, I grew up with a very strong mother. 6 children, she has always worked. The only time I saw, as a first child, I saw all the pregnancies of my mother. The only time I saw my mother maybe kind of relaxing sometime while I was growing up was she was either pregnant or she just had a baby. So she worked
Wow.
all through, right? So having such strong examples in Niger
exactly.
parlance, we will say, I cannot come and be darling now.
And I think I have that same story. I was working, and then I started having contractions, and then I
Oh,
I practically drove myself to the hospital, and then I
oh
got.
my God.
Yeah, so we know those stories, but and I also
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to take my leave because I would want to keep my leave so that I would use
That's
it after
unique.
baby.
Yes.
Yeah, so
That's
I'll keep it,
unique.
and
So
even when it's my due date, I would say, oh, the baby's like, I just don't, I don't want to lose one day of my.
Yes.
So the two births, I was at work. I went to work, and then I had to go have a baby. To go have a
Oh my
I'm sure
God.
that's the story of many people. We have to just try to balance and
Yeah.
yeah, achieve our careers, achieve our dreams
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah.
It's not easy. But I'll quickly say, I think we have we've been here for, oh my God, 47 minutes. I think we'd have to start rounding off. I'll quickly say hi to those who joined us. Those who said, I mean, there are people on social media who didn't join us here, but Henry,
I could see that
almost like a
because
thank you. Takara from Columbus, Pablo from Los Angeles, Drew
hello,
Shepherd from Los Angeles. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us. Yeah, about 150 people are watching right now. I'm seeing.
Wow.
Okay. So, ladies, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And of course, as mothers, we're teaching our children how to protect the environment, how to conserve.
Exactly.
Everything we're doing is for them, for them to have a better planet, for them to have materials, natural resources to be able to make their own fashion. Because we exhaust everything, there'll be nothing left. No fish, no plants, no water, no clean water.
Exactly.
And that's the ultimate goal.
Exactly. We have to leave a better planet for our children.
Yes, say that in Italian.
I said we have to leave a better planet for our children.
In Italiano.
Dobbiamo lasciare una pianeta migliore per I nostri figli.
And you, Elena?
Yes, sono d'accordo. Lasciamo il migliore nel nostro pianeta.
Sì.
Non seguiamo l'esempio del passato. Salvaguardiamo il pianeta e salvaguardiamo la nostra salute. Sounds good in Italian?
Ọ dị maka emezie ala anyị, mezie obodo, mezie ihe niile ka ụmụachi tokwana ka ha hụ mmiri ha ga-aṅụ, ha hụ azụ mmiri, mezie obodo ya ọ dị mma. Ọwụwa mebie mebi ihe atụfuo ọ gaghị enyere onye ọbụla aka.
Can I say in Portuguese?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I would say in Portuguese. Vamos deixar a nossa natureza para o futuro dos nossos filhos nas melhores mãos, melhorando hoje para ter o melhor amanhã. Obrigada.
I love this international language. Perhaps. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.